Hi, welcome everybody to the Spotlights and Encore show with Tim and Brad, presented by the Dynamite Collective. We're very excited about the show here today. We're going to have an expanded episode because we're doing an interview with two of our great friends, Eric and Matt, who have collaborated in Eric's new book, Welcome to the Election Year War. And then, Brad, I know you've been waiting for this. We're going to have a new Encore segment where we dive into the archive and have some surprises. Are you ready?
I love it. Let's do it.
Hey, everybody. We're so excited today to have two special guests for our Spotlight segment. We've got here with us today the author and the illustrator of Welcome to the Election Year War, right here on Spotlights and Encores with Brad and Tim. So glad that you could join us, Matt and Eric, and we're going to jump right in. We want to talk about the book, talk about the writing, talk about the images. It's a beautiful, fantastic book. Let's get started with Eric.
So, Eric, what I want to know about the book and the story in particular is this something was maybe churning for a long time? Is this something that just sort of came to you one day a year ago? Was it 10 years ago? Was it 20 years ago? Like, where did the genesis come from?
Yeah, it was churning, and then it stopped churning, and 20 years went 18 years went by. I don't know if you remember, but when we launched the Iraq War, lots of people were just happy. They were happy there was going to be a war. It had been a long time, and wars are fun. That was some of the energy in the atmosphere, and I didn't share it. I thought, whatever this is going to be, it's not going to be fun. And I decided to kind of channel some of my feelings at the time by having a narrator who took on that enthusiastic patriotism. But the narrator, he's not a soldier, he's not a statesman, he's a guy living at home in his basement, and he decides he's going to get the job where he names the wars, because the wars have awesome names. And so he sets out he invents this role for himself and then goes out looking for it. So I wrote it sort of summer 2003 into 2004, and then I gave it to a friend, and he said, I like it, but I don't love it. So I put it in a drawer and then forgot about it, and then read your book and thought, this has got some of the same, your first book, Journey in the Middle, and I thought, this is some of the same energy, what I remember from that manuscript, so I'll dig it out. And in between 2004 and now, every once in a while, I would drag it out and I'd give it a facelift. And then once we got the project going, gave it a serious facelift a couple of times. And so it's a different book from what I wrote back then, but it started a long time ago.
You know, that's so interesting. I remember that time I was at a business meeting, and these folks from a very large company said, you know, they were just talking like how excited they were that they hoped this war was starting, that it was going to be great for business. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to evaluate my life choices. What am I doing in this room? Terrible. It's terrible. So, you know, we've known each other all here on this call for a good long time. And I was so excited to hear that you were collaborating with Matt for the artwork. Matt, please, was this like old times? Did this feel different? You've known Eric for all these years, worked together on different artistic projects. What was this experience like? Different or the same? Did it feel like putting on an old pair of shoes?
Yeah, I mean, it is different. Like I've stayed in touch with Eric forever, since we were friends when we were like in 5th grade. And a lot of the basis of that has been like keeping up with his like creative projects and his keeping up with my creative projects. But in terms of like working on something together, it was really cool, and there was like a nostalgic charge to that. When we were like in high school, we used to collaborate on this sort of comic series where he would draw a page of comics and hang it up in our shared locker. And then I think it was usually weekly, or as soon as the other person could get to it, you would like pick up the story and do the next page. And we just like, hung them up serially like that. And this felt a little, I mean, it didn't feel like that, but there was something about like actually working on the same thing, which we hadn't done in a long time. And that was really fun. It was really fun to be able to have calls with him and trade ideas about like, oh, what should it be like? Or what about this direction or whatever. yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
So it's in if I can jump in literary publishing, it's not super common to have illustrations, a novel. Although things are changing enough from what they were 20 or 30 years ago that it's less weird now. I know when you're a kid, you read the old like Sherlock Holmes or Charles Dickens or something, and there you get those like Victorian spot illustrations, and I really like those. But it was important to me that the characters in the novel not have their faces shown in these things that he drew. Like I wanted the reader to decide from herself what everybody looks like. And I was so pleased with Matthew's choices because he got 4 images that are really kind of talking to the spirit of the book and that aren't nothing. I mean, they're of something, but they leave open a lot of kind of imaginative room for the reader to still picture the world for herself or himself.
You know, I've got to bring Brad into this conversation too a little bit. What I loved about your book, Eric, and Brad's recent book, Men of War, is that you each brought in a very different way, elements of this Midwest world from the past. And, you know, it's so interesting to me to have you guys both do that a little bit. Did you feel like there was some part of your Midwest upbringing that was important to each of your books? Eric, you start.
Well, I really wanted revenge on family members and had old scores to settle. So I just thought I'd use that material to express deeply suppressed rage.
Got that list going and crossing a couple out as you go through. Yeah. Brad, did you feel there was some drawback to the Midwest in the second book as much as there was in the first, or did it feel like you were moving further away from that?
No, whatever Eric said, same thing. No, I know this, essentially isn't about me, but you tend to, write sometimes draw from your past, and I mean, it's obviously been a big part of my life, and I've lived here most of my life, and I think I can't help but throw it in every now and then, right? I mean, it's probably going to be sprinkled in a little bit in every book I write, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I already said this, that I really owe a lot to Brad for having written a book that got me to look at mine again with fresh eyes. But reading Journey in the Middle just made me realize how artistically rich Adrian is as basis for a kind of fictional representation of the world. And it's just because we know it. Anywhere you're from is rich.
Yeah.
But I had been neglecting that material and other stuff I'd written. I thought, no, I've gone other places. They're more interesting, but they aren't, because I don't know them in the same like visceral, deep way that I know this little corner of the Midwest. And so it was liberating to me to see how much I enjoyed somebody else's rendition of it. And I'm like, that's what I want to do now.
Well, hey guys, we're going to wrap the spotlight portion up. I want you both to stick around for the encore session. But just another little look here at Matt's artwork on the Welcome to the Election Year War. Absolutely love it, Matthew. And
well, sorry to interrupt. This is like a very collaborative. The painting is actually by Eric. We did a whole back and forth thing where I did an initial drawing. He gave notes. We shaped like the what the poses and figures should be. He did the painting, and then I did a digital treatment of the painting. It's pretty collaborative, but it's
gosh. That is absolutely to the spirit of what we're trying to do here at the Dynamite Collective, and how your both of your work inspired us recently. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the encores. Welcome back, everybody, to Spotlights and Encores with Tim and Brad, presented by the Dynamite Collective. We kept Eric and Matt here today with us for a new segment on Encores from the archive. Brad, do you remember when we were teenagers?
What did I just tell you?
I always wanted a nickname. I remember asking, could somebody please come up with a nickname for me? And it never happened. So I gave a nickname to myself, and my nickname is Archive, because I save everything. I've got everything, right? And so I want to share with all of you here today something that I've been hanging on to, because I know it's going to be worth millions. But today, in From the Archive, we've got this one-of-a-kind flyer from the benefit concert, the Scarecrow's Foot. And what this reminds me of, gentlemen, is the collaboration that we all shared for a bit of our teenage years. And it, this is what makes me feel good about what we do at the Dynamite Collective, is collaborating now as well. But what do you remember? What strikes you when you first see this? Let's start with you.
I don't think I've ever seen such a punk rock handwriting before. I mean, that's amazing. Look how,
this was made by
anarchistic that is. That looks like society crumbling.
It's incredible. This was made by, I don't remember whom.
It was made by Ruth Tuttle. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's made by somebody's mom, and it's somebody's mom, a mom of one of the members of the band who nonetheless doesn't exactly know what the band is called.
No, wait a minute. Okay, this has been my big question, right? Is like when I saw when I saw Scarecrow Boat come up in the world not too long ago, right? And I remember, oh my gosh, I think I've got something that is directly from them. And I pulled this out and I was like, huh.
There's a whole story.
What is the story? Yeah. Please.
Oh, we were horrified. And looking back, like Scarecrow's foot versus Scarecrow Boat. That is not occasion for horror. That difference. But at the time, this was like somebody calling you Eugene instead of Eric. If your name's Eric, you're like, it's nothing against Eugene, but
yeah. The real name of the band is every bit as stupid as the name on this flyer. But yeah, it was weird to interpret it as like an affront of like, who would be called Scarecrow's Foot of all things?
Of all things, right?
We are clearly Scarecrow Boat. An equally dumb name, arguably dumber.
But what is remarkable is Ruth Tuttle and her prescience. I mean, that clip art, that is exactly what Archive looked like when he was in high school. Like that is how he rolled, and so she got that right.
Bringing it all back together. And I was so honored. Like this meant a lot to me, it thinking back and like, hey, these guys got a great band together, and they're doing, they've got a venue, right? To even have a venue, to have a show, to have the thought that people are going to show up to hear a performance is a big deal. And so I remember you asking me.
Yeah, the First United Methodist Church of Adrian was kind of, people might not know this, but it was kind of the CBGB of Lenawee County. Like it was where it happened.
That is pretty good. Like when a movie actor gets a and or with or whatever, like a special guest appearance.
Yeah,
pretty
like
good
a spot on a rap song, where you get a little feature. Yeah,
pretty good billing.
I remember. I have a memory of you, Tim, at that concert, and at that time I wanted to sing and couldn't sing. And now I want to sing and can't sing. But I remember saying to you, like, how do you sing? And you're like, you just sing. That was your answer.
I'm sure I have. I'm sure I have footage of this performance on video.
Come on, are you serious?
I'm sure of it.
I hope. Are you going to rival me and try to wrestle this nickname away from me, Matt? I hope you do. I hope you do, because I love seeing it. How did the trip go, by the way? The John's Island mission trip.
I have distinct memories of that. We did like it was just like doing sort of home improvement repairs on people's homes that were like in bad disrepair, people who were living in poverty, who had stuff that they needed done to the places where they were living. And we were like high school kids, so
great.
There were like some dads who were doing some like projects that required some know-how, and then we were like sanding and painting or whatever.
I don't remember any of that. I just remember we were all in love with the German girl. There was an exchange student who
joined you on the trip.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you solved this mystery, because I thought it was like Brad and I, when we were in some bands early, we changed our name over and over again. And we had someone say, please stop doing that. Like you got a good name, stick with it. And we did all sorts of funny stuff. Rude Awakening was one. We did use the Latin Love Baskets early on, but the Stools, I think was another one. Brad, do you remember any other funny names that we came up with?
No, the Where's Waldo was one of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
the high school thing.
Yeah. That's
sandwich.
I really I want to thank you both, Matt and Eric, for joining us here on the show, and I really hope you come back, because I've got more things in the archive, and I'd like to talk more about some of those collaborations that we did musically. So please do come back. Thanks everybody for watching the show here today. So goodbye from Portland.
Bye from Ann Arbor.